Hi everyone! Today we're looking at GWENT, the Witcher card game. This episode will be similar to the Lords of Midnight one in format, so I won't milk this introduction. GWENT is a collectible card game released in 2018 by CD Projekt Red and looks like yet another Magic the Gathering / Hearthstone type thing. But let's take a closer look at it and find out, should you play it? So I started out as you'd expect, installing GWENT onto my system, no surprise there. I logged into it, and I won't lie, I fully expected your run-of-the-mill online card game. I've played Hearthstone quite a bit, and I figured this wouldn't be much different. I was wrong. Maybe the gameplay of Hearthstone has gone stale for me, but I have to say I actually enjoyed playing GWENT a fair bit. One of the first things that caught my attention was the fact that the cards were fully animated. This is some Harry Potter type stuff right here. I really can't understate how much I loved that. I have always wanted to see animated cards like these, so to have things come to life on the board was a great experience. The game acquainted me as to how to play these cards. There's two lines where you can play them, melee and ranged, and different cards have different effects depending on where you decide they should go. Some cards also affect other cards you've played that are in adjacent positions, or sometimes cards that you can select, so you have to keep that in mind as you go through the game. You draw 3 cards per round. The ones you don't play in one round carry over to the next, and at the beginning of every round you get to mulligan 2 to 3 cards. Your objective is to win the rounds by having more points on the board than your opponent. The points/HP of your cards is in the upper left corner of said cards. I muddled my way through the first tutorial battle, but the game crashed on me at the end of round 1. No biggie, I just restarted everything. On the left side of the field you have your battle helper / hero power type thing. In this case, my archer guy over there lets me shoot something for 1 point of damage. The game acknowledges other card games you might find out there by pointing out that there's no attack phase. You deal damage by using your power thingamajig or by playing cards that affect others with damage. You'll notice things like summon or deploy written on the cards. These are things that they do, and if you right-click them to get more information, you will also have an explanation on the right side of the screen as to what those things are. At this point, I just followed the game's instructions, and I have to say it was pretty straightforward. Just have more points than your opponent. If you pass a turn without playing any cards, that is like standing in poker. Your opponent will get to play however many cards they want to make up the point difference and try to win. I was still in awe at the fact that all cards were animated, and it provided great eye candy. The game helpfully displayed the mechanics we had just gone over at the end of the first tutorial match. I thought it was a very nice recap. I was then thrust into a standard match, still as part of the tutorial, and this is where things started to look more like the classic gameplay you'll experience in GWENT. You start with 10 cards and may redraw 2 to 3 at the beginning of the round, as we've established. You draw 3 extra cards each passing round. If you play first, you also get that nice tactical advantage card in the middle of your battlefield that lets you bulk up one of the other cards you play. The bot passed the turn while having less points than me, so all I had to do was pass the turn as well, ending in winning the round. On round 2, I had made it to 29 points, and I noticed my opponent only had 3 cards on the field, and 3 more in his hand. I decided to pass the round, hoping that either the bot wouldn't have enough cards to make up the point difference, or force him to spam his entire hand to do so. He spammed his entire hand, taking the round for himself. Of course, this meant that I would have 5 cards to play in the last round, while he would only have 3. I won the game handily. This is where I got introduced to Classic mode. I got to choose from a starter deck, and I was undecided for a bit, but I eventually went with the recommended one, Monsters, because, you know, why tempt fate? I took a brief moment to look over the kinds of things the deck would let me do, and decided that the Thrive abilities looked like the most useful. Thrive is just one of the mechanics in the game, but basically what it means is that if you have a monster that has Thrive that's already on the board, if you then play a stronger monster, the one that's thriving will grow in points. It was here that the game broke my heart. The animations were mostly gone. The game taunted me with glorious eye candy, only to strip it away as soon as I got into it. CD Projekt, why have you done this to me? The game was beautiful and had now just become a shell of its former self. I'm sure I could probably get those animations back at some point, but I have a feeling they'll be behind a paywall. Not cool. Anyways, I read the descriptions to know what these new cards did and proceeded to destroy the bot. The game gave me a card pack. I mean a card barrel. Card barrel? And this is where I fought my first human. I was ready to prove my worth to GWENT Daddy and for the first time in my life to not be a disappointment. I chose cards that would play well with each other and took the first round. And now it was go time. The card you're watching me play is a Necker. It starts with 1 power but has Thrive. This means it will grow every single time that I play a card that's more powerful than it is, which lets you always compound your points, and that is just what I did. As the game progressed, I noticed my power grew quite a lot. My opponent just couldn't keep up, and so I figured that by just playing every card in my hand, I'd end up with a superior power level. I was correct and won my first match against a human. I went into my second match against another human. I was more careful choosing my cards and opened up with my Neckers. I then laid down progressively more powerful cards to blow them up, made a mistake thinking cards with the same power level would work as well, but it was fine. My opponent decided to give up the round, and so I won the first one. The second round began much the same way. I played the Neckers, I blew them up. I had a very strong hand and I knew that this round would most likely win me the game if I just spammed everything I had. So that's just what I did. I took care to thrive my cards as much as possible. I had a card on me that would deal damage to every monster in a row, so I waited until the very last round to use it so I could maximize that damage. It didn't make much difference in the end, he only had 3 monsters in either row. I won my second match against a human with the glorious score of 69 and decided I had accomplished enough to give my opinion on GWENT Stefani. The game's concepts are quite simple to grasp and I had a lot of fun. If you like these types of card games, you should definitely give this one a try. I still haven't forgiven CD Projekt Red for taunting me with the beautifully animated cards and then taking them away. That was a blow I won't soon forget. That being said though guys, I will catch you next time.